enjoy good excessive stance cars. Dumped, static, maybe even a good amount of camber to them. Proper, well done, well executed, thought out stance build. Not these fucking internet builds. My buddy Matt Wirtz, STI, is an extremely well thought out stance build. He tubbed the engine bay so he can fit the wheels. The camber, he literally matches to the perfect degree so that way it lines up with his A-pillars and it actually looks kind of natural with the car, even though it's a decent amount of camber. But yeah, one of my favorite things is when you go up to a car and you see it's like static and super stands out and you just think, how is this even possible? I really like that. I think that's cool and I appreciate it.
Welcome back to the MartiniWorks Podcast. It's the final 3 days of fall in Wisconsin, which means I got my meow cup of coffee and we're back for another episode. Talk a little bit about the tips and tricks of the world in the automotive scene. Dakota, good morning.
Hey, good morning.
Gels.
Good morning.
Good morning. Let's jump right into it, huh?
Okay. Yeah, I would love to.
I got nothing else to do.
Well, I feel like that is not true, but it has been really exciting to see that we've made it to 33 episodes of the podcast. It's been absolutely awesome. If you're listening or watching, the one thing I need from you on this episode is to drop a comment below on one thing you'd like to see more of or less of in the podcast. So give us some feedback, what you really enjoy, maybe what you don't enjoy as much, so that we can start making some changes, because we are in a couple months, I think 2 months, coming up on a year almost.
Holy shit.
Posting podcasts.
If you never watch the podcast, you could sit down and just for an entire month, just watch one episode
every day.
Every day.
That's
we could
crazy.
be a part of your morning poop.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's a lot for a podcast, but all right. Jesus.
All right, let's jump into it. Dakota, what are we talking about first?
All right, so I want to get into the first subject of tacky mods. Sometimes there's just mods that, like, if they weren't on the car, it'd be a pretty solid build. But then people add these things, and it kind of takes away from the entire build. So I want to talk about a little bit about those. And while we're at it, it's just about Halloween here. We're getting there. And I think this fits hand in hand is holiday mods to cars, like people doing the teeth in the grill, blood splattered hands, and using, what did people even use? Red dye?
Yeah. And then
So I did this.
Oh, okay. See,
I did this back in the day.
Wait. And we're also at the end of this going to be talking about breaking news. It's our newest segment that we're talking about as well. So are we starting with Halloween stuff or are we starting with Tacky stuff first? Because you lined him up to start talking about blood
if
splatter
he's
mod.
go for it.
You want to go
he's
in?
passionate about it. He does this mod.
I had nothing else to do one time, and I was in college and I was broke. I had my E36, and Halloween was coming up, and it was like the era of like when it was 2016, so like the freaking like clown shit was going on. You remember that?
Yeah.
Where there was like people doing all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
So I stuck like a clown mask on the front of the car, and then like did the blood prints and then the teeth, because like I had nothing better to do, and people loved it. But yeah, I just used freaking water-based like paint that you can get from like an art store,
And it just came off. Fine.
Yeah, it rained once and then it all came off.
See, the thing is, like in 2016, I feel like that's really when that shit was happening. Like Instagram's popping and people are posting photos of it, and it really becomes a thing. But now we're on like year 6, 7 of people doing it. Is it still as cool, as funny as? I don't know if it was ever necessarily cool.
I don't know. I think it takes its like evolution a little bit. Like you see it come back every year in one way. I would say for the last couple years, it's been like the photo shoot with the car, like you throw like a big sheet over the car or something.
I did that last year.
Yeah.
I did that last year.
I think there's like it's kind of evolved in a way. Like people still doing the teeth stuff. Like the Miata's like obviously a big one because it literally looks like a freaking happy face, and you throw the pop-ups up and you throw some teeth in the grill and you have a fun time with it. I don't know. I mean, I think if you just do it for like a week or something, I think it's kind of fun, but I wouldn't keep it on.
My favorite part was
if
when
it's Thanksgiving and you still got the teeth in your grill.
My favorite part was watching people with the Halloween mods on their car show up to the season opener in April the following year.
Exactly.
With the same thing done to the car. Because then after up here in Wisconsin, after Halloween, almost every car goes into storage. Like November 1st is kind of like the unofficial date of things get put away. And so people go and they do all this work on their car for Halloween, and then it drops to 22 degrees. And then it just stays like that in the storage unit for 6 months, 5 months, which is nuts. I think it's changed though. Like last year there was a somebody, I think their name was like Shantae or something like that. A couple years ago did, the teeth on the Miata. Then there was another girl that did the ghost wrap on a car. I saw a couple guys that took like their McLarens and literally just like wrapped on the side of it just the words boo. And then you would just go downtown and like do a bunch of TikToks of like some guy walking and then be like, ah, and scare the shit. It's just I don't know. I think it's fun. I think it's good. It's needed. The coolest video I think I ever saw though was the McLaren 570, I think it was, or 720 that was all lit up. It was like Alex Choi's. Had all the Christmas lights on it, where he whips around the van and just does a smoke and burnout past the camera. That's probably
was that Alex? I can't remember, but I do remember seeing.
Yeah, because then you go into the next season, which is like Christmas, and you got people throwing the trees on the roofs and doing the fun edits.
I like the trees on the roofs, especially like when you got a dope slammed wagon and you got a Christmas tree on it. I don't think that'll ever get old for me.
No.
What about when people are taking like legit like Christmas wrapping paper and wrapping their whole car?
That's a lot of work.
That's a lot.
That's a lot of work, and I feel like
I can already.
It's never done well.
I don't know if it can be done well.
I can already see it though. Hey guys, welcome to part 67 of me wrapping my car for Christmas. Today we're doing the fender. Please don't forget to like and follow. And then there's 72 other parts of some random ass TikToker putting wrap on their car.
And I need a break, so we're having a meal from Factor.
Yeah. Also, don't forget to click the link in my bio for the Amazon Associates.
Okay, all right.
Delicious Harold.
This is turning into an entire ad.
I'm sorry.
People that aren't even paying us.
Anti-ad.
Speaking of ads, if you guys haven't yet and you're looking to buy some car parts, mod your car over at MartiniWorks. That would mean the world. That's obviously an ad and a plug. And if you're not subscribed yet, please be sure to do so. We just got Continental products on the website, which is super exciting. So now you can actually buy tires and wheels. And pretty soon you'll be able to put them motherfuckers together and make wheel and tire packages, which are really
You can actually buy a lot of stuff from us. It's just that like we're slowly adding them to the website when we can. So if you want something and you don't see it on the website because it's probably not on there, just shoot us a DM or an email or something.
Man,
we can probably
give these guys an inch and they take a mile.
You're goddamn right I do. You're goddamn right. I have to go look at the price of ramen noodles, the name brand versus the shitty brand, which there is an objective difference in the noodle quality.
What is the shitty brand of ramen?
I don't know.
I eat all of it.
What's the name brand of
Top Noodle? Isn't Top Noodle one of the brands? Top Noodle.
Ramen is
No, Maruchan. Maruchan is the best.
That's like
no, it's not actually.
Yes, it is. I don't like the big one.
No. I know it when you're talking. I think that one's good too.
It is good. It's
there is one that is just hands up. Like, dude, it tastes like quality. I'm trying to think. It's a little more expensive too. It's like $3-4 for like the little.
Yeah, see,
container.
I can't do that,
dude.
I need 19
It's
cent
so
ramen.
good though.
I need 19
It's like
ramen.
Shin.
Yeah, Shin is. Yeah, that's like the bigger package.
It's like not
black.
with the rest of the ramen.
It's separated.
It's actually in like the Asian
Yeah,
food.
they don't associate with Maruchan.
Yeah,
that's my favorite. That's my like.
I'll have to try that.
I will say
I've grown up on like the 58 cent.
I still eat those. I still eat those.
Becca put me on. If you want a little trick, is you can get like some chili oil. Becca got it, and you put that in the ramen. After you warm it up, you drain the water, you put some oil in there, and then you warm up some like just chicken, some shredded chicken. Throw that in there. Ooh,
that actually does sound really good. I use garlic chili oil.
It's good. Yeah, garlic chili oil is really good. Anyway, let's go back. Let's take it back. I'm sorry. We did the plug for MartiniWorks that started talking about tires, and now we're on to ramen.
Okay,
so mods.
Yeah,
mods we think are kind of they put the I have it.
Okay, go for it.
And I just don't like them. I've never seen them done well. Never seen this mod done well.
Okay.
And that's the Surikawa,
the little handle,
subway handle thing. Anytime I see that in a car, it immediately ruins the whole thing for me. I know why people do it.
I was gonna say,
I get it.
For people that don't know, do you want to explain kind of the origin of it?
Yeah, Surikawa. I think it's Kawa, right? Not Kara. Kawa. Suikawas
I don't speak
are essentially a kind of like a nod back to when in Japan, if you wanted to be considered rebellious, when you were on like the trains or any sort of subway system, those handles you could actually disconnect. You could cut them, and what people would do is they would cut them, they would take them with them, and then they would resew them or stitch them onto their car. And it was kind of considered like a little bit of act of rebelliousness, and it was also like a rite of passage.
Yeah, one thing on that to put it in perspective, because like in America, that's not anything.
That's a Tuesday.
No one cares. Yeah, like we steal the numbers from restaurants all the time. You know, when they give them to you and you take the number, like that's a normal fucking day.
Yeah.
In Japan, they are very strict in their society. Like, crime is not a thing. If you do crime or crime-related things or have tattoos even, you're an outcast.
Yeah.
You are so like stealing something from the subway, that is a big deal.
And it's also important to remember that the subway portion is super important to this, because the subway system in Japan is
like
the
their
most
main thing.
congested, populated area. So to go out there and do that in front of people was also considered to be like a huge step into like this rebelliousness. So that's what people did. They actually used to put them on their motorcycles because a lot of it came from the Bosuzoku style. And in America, we kind of took it, commoditized it, put it into some capital environment, sold it for $19 on Amazon, and they just don't look good. They just
Plastic broken heart.
yeah, and like I get it. Like they're like, oh, it's so cute. It matches my pink steering wheel. It's like I just don't like it. I'm sorry, I can't do it.
Yeah.
I can't do
It's
it.
got to be annoying because I've never had one, and I don't know if I've ever. Yeah, for the passenger where it's just constantly just like waving in front of you while they're driving. That would be annoying as hell, honestly. Yeah, I don't really get it. I think another thing too is like to hang it from your lower bumper, and like if you're static and low and you're driving it drags. Damn, I'm looking dumb. Yeah, I agree with that one. I think I can get behind. Like if I never seen another person do that again, I don't think I would even realize.
I don't think I'd mind it.
I would just be like, yeah, I don't miss that.
I've been seeing this more and more. I know so, and it's not like in general this mod because I have seen it done very well. It is a very like big thing that has been done and it's been blowing up, and that is like the custom headlights and taillights. But what I have been seeing is because it is getting so big and because so many just individuals have come on board to like start making these products and like customizing and building taillights for people. You can go on Instagram and find like 50 taillight builders, I feel like. But I even down in like Gatlinburg this year, like we were driving home from the show one night and I counted like 5 or 10 just malfunctioning custom built taillights.
Yeah.
Where like they would just all of a sudden flash a random color or they would just shut off or like
I seen a lot of people driving down the street with no taillights.
I know.
They're just
That's what I mean.
off.
Like they just went off and like they hit the brake and then like it would fucking do like this whole it's like cool, but like there are a lot of them out there because of it has gotten so big and there a lot of people are trying their hands on it, and it is kind of like a industry in a sense where you can make good money on it, that it is kind of getting flooded with some lower tier.
It's so damn cheap. I saw.
Yeah,
there's
and it's like you can people are just like getting like circuit boards, and you can do like the dot matrix thing. I think is really cool if it's done right.
Yeah,
but
which costs
all
a lot
of a sudden
money.
you just have like the heart as a tail light, and it's flashing 10 different colors at you, and it's off at 10 p.m. at night.
Well, I
It's
can see why they do it though. I was actually looking at a kit because the taillights on the S2000 are like all smoked, and to get new ones are like good ones are a couple grand if you want to get good aftermarket LED ones. And so I was looking at it, and I came across a link, and to do the little what you're talking $300.
Yeah,
So I can see why people do it.
Yeah, 100%. It is a sometimes more affordable option and then you can do like a lot of customization to it. It's just one of those things where it's like all of a sudden you're ended up with a circuit board that's crooked or it's warped or the lights aren't evenly spaced or they're malfunctioning, and it's just like, oh my God, that is such a crucial part of your vehicle. I feel like you might want to get that sorted.
Yeah. Dakota?
Yeah, I got two that are very different. So I was trying to think while you guys are talking, like walking around a car show, looking at a car, and what can like immediately just kind of put me off of a car while seeing it. And sticking on the LED train, I am a fan of underglow. I don't mind it. I think it can be cool, and I think it looks good. But I'm guilty of having this on my car. If you have underglow and you can see like the individual LED lights, it just immediately ruins it. It doesn't look good. You have to really install it right so it's tucked away and the glow comes.
I don't want to see the LED. I don't want to see your Amazon.
Because I did it and I thought
strip.
it was all good, and then I could see it and it ruined it for me. I was like, I don't even want to turn this on. I think this looks extremely cheap. So if you're gonna do it, I say do it right. Make sure you really tuck it away. I think they even make like covers now and stuff for it too. That can kind of help.
You can
make
even
channels.
take like a little bit of you can get that like 1/8 inch like little weather stripping that you can
and put it on the edge of it so then you don't
and
see.
you can tuck it and hide it away really easily.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the other one I was gonna say, which I think this could be a little more controversial, but I think most people are on the same page, is
Bolts.
forged carbon.
Oh God.
Yes.
And especially, I don't mind it if it's like a piece or something, or maybe a couple of small pieces, whatever, sure. But when like these people are going fucking buck wild in the side skirts, the hood, the fenders, the engine bay, the front lip, side skirts, rear wing, everything is forged carbon. It just looks fucking tacky. It doesn't look good. And I know it's expensive as hell. I know how much that shit is, and I respect that, but I see it and it just looks
money
so
doesn't buy that taste though, right?
Exactly. And I think people do buy it because it's the more expensive option. Do people really like how it looks though?
I think it's so hard to hard to make it look right. And I think when it came onto the scene from the supercar industry, which is where a lot of it originated, it was very minimal locations of where they put it. Like Akrapovich would put the forged carbon just around the outline of the Aventador exhaust. And that was it. Everything else was still normal carbon, but it was just enough to say, oh, look at that, because it stuck out a little bit.
So here's the thing, and I want you to comment if I'm wrong on this, because I genuinely want to know. When I look at it, I feel like when you look at like the new, like the GR Corolla, say they come with like the forged carbon roof. When I look at that,
I didn't think that
it looks
bad.
Completely different, because I believe that is actual forged carbon. The pieces that we are seeing just get slapped onto vent covers, hoods, interior pieces. They're calling it this forged carbon, but if you see it made, all they're doing is taking pieces of carbon.
Yeah.
And it's not a weave, because carbon fiber is woven. There's strength to it, and then it is, it has the epoxy, and then sometimes the fiberglass. Like it, there's a strength to it because it's woven fibers. You just have people cutting up or breaking up pieces of carbon, sprinkling it on over a little part,
and
dousing it in epoxy and clear coating, like forged carbon. It's like, you didn't fucking forge anything. You fucking made arts and crafts with your car part.
Yeah.
So like, I don't understand. Like, to me, that is not actual forged carbon. That provides no purpose to it. And sometimes it just looks like a lot.
There is like a subtleness to it, because I know like there's different types of carbon.
With everything.
You do pre-preg or wet.
I hate that term.
Yeah, I know, but like you don't see any difference like visually when you look at it. But the difference is that
the strength of it,
the strength of it, and just the overall thickness of the part is much smaller in pre-preg, because you're not layering that resin over it. It's infused into the carbon, which is why I think
pre-preg?
It's just a different type of manufacturing process for carbon fiber. Oh, okay. It's also a marketing thing too, I would say. But it makes the whole part look a little bit smaller. And I think what happens is people get this forged carbon, they layer it all on. And I think literally the piece looks bigger, because I've seen side skirts with, or like the little vents and stuff with, and it's like, it looks out of place, because it looks like it's almost bulging a
There's
little
no
bit.
flow to it.
No, because it's a random pattern. There's no flow, like you said, no flow to it. It's almost like just randomly generated pieces of stuff.
It makes stuff look even more out of place. Like I think when carbon fiber is done successfully, it flows naturally with the car. And when its entire body panels and stuff, it can get hairy and weird.
So here's the thing. It's like on the interior, the engine bay, like that kind of stuff, I tend to like it more, because it's like, okay, it's more of like a cosmetic thing. Like if you're replacing like your wood grain with like a forged carbon grain, it's like, obviously, it's going to be just for the looks of it and stuff like that. When you're going like hoods and doors and vent covers and like a bunch of exterior stuff, I think that's where it kind of gets weird to me.
I think the most perfect example on the opposite side of the fence of carbon fiber done right lately is companies like Slinger, or I've even seen some YouTubers now where they go and they'll 3D print, they make all their own carbon fiber fenders, and then they go and they get it painted, and they paint it with like 2 coats and a clear.
Yeah.
And it's
can
obviously,
still get
but
the
you
weave
can
through
still
it.
get the
Yeah.
weave.
Yeah, that's
that is chef's goddamn kiss. Because I do think if you had a whole front carbon fiber 370Z 5 years ago, I think that was in. Like having exposed carbon looked really cool. And I think nowadays people are like,
It just looks. I think it just looks a little unfinished. You know, because you're essentially making 2 colors to a car now.
Yeah.
So if you have a bright red car, and all of a sudden your 2 front fenders, your hood, and your rear hatch is carbon fiber.
yeah, it's all broken up.
It looks like you just had an accident, like in a sense. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So I think it's evolving in a way. Like you said, 5-10 years ago, carbon was huge. Like a lot of the pieces were coming out, it was getting mass produced for a lot of cars. You wanted to show off that you had it, got it. I think as a community, we're kind of evolving a little bit into like, okay, yes, carbon is pretty readily available. I would say the cost has come down a little bit in some portions. But now how can you integrate it in a cleaner way? And I think if your fenders have the vents on it, leave the vents exposed, but paint the rest of it. Or like you said, do it where you can still kind of see the weave through, but the paint matches the rest of the car. Yeah, I think there's ways to go about it that are a little bit better nowadays.
On the other side of the fence, and I'll give you guys a couple seconds to think about it while I do our plug. What is one maybe excessive mod, like something that's over the top that you do really like, that you don't care kind of looks out of place? And you think about it for a second, and I'm going to do, if you guys are wondering what the plug is, this is a pretty big plug because Continental Tire has come on board as our official tire sponsor for the MartiniWorks podcast. If you guys didn't know, we have a channel called MartiniWorks Unboxed, and over there we just reviewed the Continental Extreme Contact Sport 02 on Lars's BMW M2 competition. We take it over to US Air, we compare it on cold track conditions, and we talk a little bit about how this tire really performs. Truly unbiased, truly a fun time. We want you to go take a look, and we want to thank Continental for coming on board. They obviously love the podcast, and they love what we talk about, and we love the tires as well. One of my favorite things about it, though, is always going to be the warranty, because I do go through tires in a pretty aggressive way. And knowing that Continental has my back on certain tires and certain models, depending on what I'm doing, is pretty freaking cool. And if you want to see us use and abuse a Continental tire because you don't just want to hear a plug, head on over to MartiniWorks Unbox, take a look at the video, drop a comment, and let us know if the podcast sent you. Dakota, you ready?
That was beautiful.
Thank you.
I love Continental. I
know
really
you
do. Dude, I almost got the whole lineup at this point. I really do.
Yeah, you got the winter set, the all season, the sport tires.
Yeah,
You even got the general tire.
Dude, I'm in tire heaven. Anyways, so I'm really thinking about this. A mod that is.
I got it.
You have it? All right, Chelsea, go ahead.
Yeah.
I would say like the insanely like shaved, clean, polished engine base.
Okay.
I'm talking like the whole night, like clean, or the clear radiator hoses, like every bolt.
I do like clear
every
radiator hoses.
bolt is polished. All the wires are like, it looks like the car shouldn't
I
run.
worry about having clear radiator hoses on that.
Yeah, you don't, because then you notice that there's nothing in it.
It's a little brown.
It exposes too much.
Everything is touched. Like it looks like the engine was just sat in the car and it does not run, but it does run.
Yeah.
I think it's insanely over the top, really unnecessary, but you know how much time goes into that. You know how much fabrication goes into something like that. And a lot of these guys fucking do it themselves.
Yeah.
So
Volkswagen,
I love that.
Volkswagen were
guys,
king of that space.
Yeah.
I think it was a year ago or 2 years ago.
I'd say Honda guys too. The Honda guys were really big into
true.
that.
Honda guys were really good. 1 or 2 years ago at Slam of Gatlinburg, there was a Subaru. I don't know if you guys ever saw that one. It was triple chromed, tucked and shaved. I think it was an EJ build.
I'd be terrified of getting rid of anything. In a
That's
Subaru.
what I'm saying. Is a lot of times people expect the shaved and tucked to come from Honda or Volkswagen, and I think that car actually won. I think it won Best in Show, and the engine bay was beautiful. I'd never seen a Subaru engine bay I liked, and that was the very first time I was like, "Holy shit, this looks great."
See, if I ever did something like that, I would be just so paranoid of dirt or grease or something. Like I'd be in that bitch cleaning it like every time I drive the car, and I don't know if I can handle that kind of responsibility.
No, I can't. I still got the high that I rode on the S2000 from.
We don't talk about that.
Dakota, do you have your?
Yes, I do. I thought I might get a little hate for this, but that's okay because I like it and I'm not afraid to speak up about it. I enjoy good excessive stance cars, like dumped. Static, maybe even a good amount of camber to them. I don't mind seeing that. Am I gonna do it with my car personally? Not anymore. Kind of older now. Realize
you did your time.
Being a quarter inch off the ground or lower, it was fun, and I'm good now. But I still enjoy seeing that stuff, and I am talking though specifically about a good, proper, well done, well executed, thought out stance build, not these fucking internet builds. And I sound like I feel like a boomer. Like
you are
back in my day. No, but like
before the internet.
I was a Cobalt SS.
I'm talking about, like, I always use this as an example, but my buddy Matt Wirtz, STI, is an extremely well thought out stance build. He tubbed the engine bay so he can fit the wheels. The camber, he literally matches to the perfect degree so that way it lines up with his A-pillars and it actually looks kind of natural with the car, even though it's a decent amount of camber. And he runs that thing just right off the ground. But there's tons of cars that I see that
he drives
like
it
that.
like a lot. Did you do a road rally in that car?
We did do a road rally in that car. It wild. We scraped the entire time and rubbed the entire time, but it was fun.
That's a hard thing to do because like when you do go into stance, you pretty much are getting rid of so much drivability, and that's where I think
it is a sacrifice.
Yeah, like the fuck it we ball energy comes out where people they dump it. They scrape everywhere. They blow out their fenders.
They're like, oh, what's the point of making it look good or dialing something in because it's just going to break anyway? But it's like, that's almost the art of it is keeping it looking that pristine.
There are people like Matt, and there are others out there that have done really aggressive, clean stance builds that aren't looking like shit when you get 5 feet.
And they do drive them.
And it is hard, but it is possible.
Honestly, I think Jasper did a really good job with his car too.
36 is nice.
I mean, he's definitely had issues with cracked fenders and just problems overall with that car, but he's done a very good job of.
He's addressed it,
and he does drive it quite a bit too.
Matt Jensen up here in Wisconsin, his blue S2000 that he had,
thing
I think
was insane.
Also incredibly clean.
Yeah.
I mean.
He had some wide ass TE37s on that, I remember. But yeah, one of my favorite things is when you go up to a car and you see it's like static and super stands out, and you just think, how is this even possible? I really like that. I think that's cool, and I appreciate it. Again, not necessarily anything I'd do to my car anymore, but I still like seeing it. It's fun to go look at. I don't get how the fuck people do it sometimes.
All right, well, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to be talking about more car stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so it's been about 15 years when I used to browse.
It's been 10 years.
Yeah, when I used to browse Craigslist. Giles, you remember those days?
I fucking hated Craigslist.
I'm
sorry.
Craigslist.
Craigslist was the worst.
Why are we talking about Craigslist?
Because we're talking about back in the day, growing up as car enthusiasts, in the old northern Wisconsin. No,
why are you talking like that?
I would say there are certain cars that hold a special place in our heart that we would consider today as like classics, even though they're only from the 90s. They're classics.
Yep.
And it kind of got us thinking a little bit that growing up, what would you say, like, if you were to say one car from like back in the day, classic car in your mind of like, man, this got me into cars. I always wanted one of these. Like, Dakota, what would it be?
Yeah, I mean, it was the Mark IV GTI for me.
Okay.
That was one that just got me into the car scene.
Yep.
I always wanted tunable stuff like that. And I think there's a lot of those cars like the SRT4 Cobalt SS era.
Alex?
I think the car that really got me into it as like a teenager was the 1992 Mitsubishi 3000 GT VR4.
Oh, yeah. When Mitsubishi was cool.
When Mitsubishi was not looking
and they were.
Dude, when they weren't
crushing it.
When they weren't looking at their bank statements, they were investing in all the right
I feel like I understand that.
Yeah.
You just don't look at how much money you don't have. You can ball out.
1990.
That's not good advice.
Don't do that. But it's a fun time.
1997 Mitsubishi came around and they're like, the last 5 years have been crazy. And then the bank came and they're like, you're broke.
Yeah, the 2000s were kind of like, okay, we need to take a look at things. Yeah, on the same page, I think the 2G Eclipse stole my heart a little bit. But it got us thinking, like, what are those cars today? Because obviously a lot more cars have come out since then.
Yeah.
What do you think in 10, 15 years is going to be a future classic that we're going to look back on and be like,
for example, how 240 SXs are just insanely
20 grand,
priced, but like you could get them for like $5,000 before.
Alex about to pee his pants. What?
I believe, hear me out,
okay,
a future classic car that is going to demand an absolute premium in the market.
At Race Wars?
The BMW M2 competition.
Man, that is a real future classic.
Here's why.
That's way in the future.
Can I explain why a little bit though?
Absolutely.
So the BMW M2 competition is one of like the best drivers cars out there. And it often gets overlooked by the M3 and the M4. But the M2 is what pretty much every M enthusiast ever wanted in a car.
Yeah. And
I think the M2 competition is like the pinnacle driving experience car you can get on the European side that's not like a GT4.
Right.
So yeah, it's a future classic, but I was thinking more like European than tuner, because obviously with tuner stuff, it's like NSX, Supra, GT4 Celica if you want to get kind of quirky with it. It's like all those are kind of already tapped into. Like I'm trying to think of a car that truly isn't talked about, and I feel like the M2 Comp is just one of those cars.
I totally agree with you on that because when you think of it, if someone's going out there's a lot of M3s, a lot of M4s roaming around. You very rarely see an M2, but when you do, those are the ones that on the weekends are getting thrown around the track. And, those are, I 100% agree.
I mean, Lars put 60, like this is always the wildest thing to me. I mean, Lars has put 60,000 miles on his.
That's crazy.
Hard miles. He is not nice to that car. And outside of
he loves the car.
Brakes, rotors, the basic wear and
tires.
Never given him a hard time.
No.
Never has given him a hard time. Like, that's nuts to me.
Yeah, absolutely. Ever since you've driven it, you kind of like it. It seems like you really like that car.
I do.
You might
like
have to pick one up.
I do like it, but no, probably not for
Dakota
a
almost killed me in one of those cars one time.
Yeah? Dakota, what do you think?
I mean, I think you can't not talk about, and I'm not sure. I'm torn on this, but we'll discuss it. Is the FRS BRZ platform?
100%.
Is that future 240SX platform?
I think eventually there's,
because they're already all clapped.
They're all.
it is surprising to see how a lot of you guys fucked that car up.
However, one thing I am curious, and I don't know the answer on this, so maybe we can research it, talk about another podcast episode to follow up, is I don't know the production number differences between the 240 and the GR or the FRS BRZ platform.
The car just, the only thing that I worry about is that it's not, this sounds so bad.
Okay, here we go.
It's not pure. It's a joint car with another company.
Are you talking shit?
So,
because I think the Supra is a future classic. The Mark V Supra is
absolutely.
a future classic, same as that M2. I think it really will be.
So I guess I don't know. I haven't thought about the Supra, but when I think about it, like the FRS BRZ, because it's such a shared platform, I just don't see it carrying the same singular love. Because I think about like the Crossfire, and what's the other one that shared the platform with it?
Are you comparing this to a Crossfire?
Yes, I absolutely am. The Crossfire and then the Saturn Sky. Remember when those cars came out?
But those brands aren't reputable.
Solstice. Thank you. That's why I was asking.
That car, honestly,
but you
kind of a sleeper. I do.
But you remember people like, this is going to be a class. It was
I don't remember people
turbocharged.
saying
It
it
was
was
a
a
sports
classic.
car. It was small wheelbase, fun to drive.
That was like,
But it looked girly.
that was like Pontiac and Saturn's like, we need to get out of this. This is our last.
Okay, but
effort.
hear me out. It's 10 years from now. You can't find these FRS. You're not seeing them. If they're absolutely in pieces, destroyed, and all of a sudden one day you're coming out of the grocery store with your kids and you see one.
You see Gels,
Sunset.
60 years old.
And there's what's that green edition one?
Oh, the Hakone.
The
edition?
Hakone edition, bone stock, freshly wiped down, clean, just sitting in the back of the parking lot, and it
break my neck.
mint.
Break my neck.
Exactly. See. Well, you were.
But I had one,
You were an
so it's
owner,
like,
so you're a little more.
yeah.
So it's tough to say. But I feel like owners.
I
Well,
feel
that's
like-
who it targets.
Yeah.
Would pay a premium for that
I
shit.
think I would look at that like I look at a Toyota Celica GT nowadays, which is like, oh, it's kind of cool. But it's not enough to be like,
Okay.
wow,
I
I
get
spent
what
a
you're
lot
saying.
of money on that. That's my opinion.
I get what you're saying,
like this
and that's why I want to discuss, because I'm torn on it. I'm back and forth on it. I'm like, part of me is like, there's a fucking million of them, and yeah, they won't be that special. But then part of me is like,
in 40 years,
so many people are making connections with these cars, and nostalgia is more powerful than probably anything else on the planet.
So what are we looking at right now? 90s. We're looking at 30 years of the 240. Right, like S13. Like talk about S13.
but you're right. You bring up a really good point. Sorry, go ahead.
So like 30 years of the S13. We're already pushing 10 years on the 2013 first generation FRS BRZs. 10 years already. So we're only a third of the way there of where we're looking at the 240s now. So I would say give it another, realistically, 20 years. 20 more years of the first generation BRZ FRS. How do you think they're sitting? Where do you think they're at?
I just don't know.
Are they all clapped out? Are all the engines? Are they swapped to holy Jesus because of the FA motors? Like, what's in them? Like, I think
it's hard to say.
it's going to be a wild trip. But
I do believe
maybe it won't be a classic, right? Like maybe it won't be as much, but you're 100% right. It's going to be one of those cars that you see like, damn.
I think from
That's neat.
kind of switching it up a little bit away from the tuner side, there is one car I would like to own because I do think it'll be a collector, and I also just have an affinity for it, is the second gen Dodge Viper.
Oh, I thought you were going. I thought you were going to C8 Corvette. I was about to bet money on that.
No, because I like, for me, the second gen Dodge Viper represented something in my childhood. That game,
I agree.
that Viper
One of those,
game was it. The blue with the white stripes.
Would you say it's not already there though?
No, I don't think so, because you can jump out on a marketplace And sure, some examples are more expensive, but they're still in that like non-collectible price
they're
range.
really not that bad. I feel like they've came down a little bit.
It's kind of like that generation of Corvette too.
Yeah,
like
because
it kind of bottomed out a little bit.
And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that our generation and the younger generation, that car's not present in anything.
No.
It's not present in very active motorsport that we can tell. It's not very active in the car show scene. It's not a very active car in the autocross.
Yeah.
Like they're very hard cars to drive.
It's an odd car.
So I don't think it gets like the social awareness that it should. Outside of like Texas 2K folks that are making them like 1,800 horsepower monsters. Yeah. I just think it's a cool car, and it represents, I think, the closest thing to America's fuck it, we ball energy of like the late 90s and early 2000s that you possibly could.
Sure.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
I think that's a neat one.
I would also say, and this, it's weird because I'm riding the line of future classic and just cars that are just going to be, I would say, get a little bit, like they're going to start to go up in price as they get obviously more hard to get a hold of. I think that, as a younger enthusiast coming into the scene in the next like 10 years, that we already seen a big shift towards the Euro side of things. The 335 and that like N54 being one of the huge driving forces behind that. You can go pick them up for pretty cheap. Yeah, they're a little used and abused, but it's like that's still a more like affordable line of like tuner car in a sense where it has a turbocharger. There's a ton of bolt-on stuff you can do for it. It's a huge aftermarket support. I think that kind of series of cars, like the 335s or anything with the N54 turbocharged 6-cylinder from BMW, will be in that realm.
That's fair. I'd agree with that. Yeah. Because those cars are affordable right now. They do push out good power. Yeah. They can be really well done. Mm-hmm. They have all the recipes for success to be a fun car for all of it. Yeah, that's a good point. I don't know if there is a time and a place to talk about this car because it might be in a different tax.
Yeah, just let her rip anyway.
The GT4 RS manual.
GT4.
What?
Okay.
So the GT4 RS.
You're throwing a lot of numbers and syllables at me.
So it's the baby brother to the GT3 RS.
Okay.
Which is that lizard green.
That's
beautiful,
like the TikTok number one car.
Everyone
wants the GT3 RS.
Everybody wants the GT3 RS
so the
until they got to pay GT3 RS money.
So the GT4 is like the more realistic.
The GT4 is what the M2 comp is to the M3. The GT4 RS, anybody that that is wealthier, like if they can afford it, they don't get an M2 comp, they get a GT4 RS. And those cars are insane. High revving, manual, short wheelbase, super fun to drive. There's never been anything bad to say about the cars. And they came out super expensive. And I think they're going to be even more expensive as the years go on because Porsche's like one of the last announcing brands to say that they're going to keep a manual for another generation of cars. But it's only a matter of time before they all go PDK. That's my thoughts.
I don't know much about those, so it's hard for me to speak on those. What's that?
You're the
MSRP on
Porsche
one of
guy.
them?
4-liter, flat six,
That's
tiny wheelbase, ton of horsepower.
How much are they?
When they came out,
Yeah.
I want to say a GT4 RS was like 190, 210.
That's why I know nothing about them.
There it is.
Then they hit the so then they hit the market, right? And this was like before COVID or during COVID.
Yeah.
Then they hit the market. They came out.
That's important.
And then they were like $360,000.
What?
Hello?
What?
So then people started like when I did that whole bit on Car and Driver, whoever it was, I was just I made a lot of people upset, including people that review cars. Like they're like the GT4 RS is the best car, or like no, it was the Chevy Corvette, the C8.
Yeah.
It was like it's the best car ever because it's only $80,000, $85,000 as tested. It's like you go out there, you call a dealership, you can't find one for less than $180,000.
They're gonna laugh at you.
It's like, so no, it's not. It was like the GT4 RS was like the best car per dollar on the track, even with the markup to $350,000, which was wild.
Okay.
What about the R35 GTR?
That's a interesting.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
What I was honestly trying to think about, obviously it's a fantastic car, but I was trying to think about two movies that have featured cars and stuff like that, because that does affect things. Because part of people watch the movie, then they always dream of having that car, and then one day when they have adult money, they try to get it. But like also, the R35 is just an absolute phenomenal beast of a car.
Yeah.
And then it already has the GTR legacy behind it. So the only thing, again, this one, I mean, it's been produced for years and years, still being produced. So it's
being made for a long
hard
time.
to say, will it be
But it's so typical
classic.
because think about it. Nissan is doing the same thing.
They make like a ton of them.
Yeah, but Nissan's done the same thing in the 90s as they do now, right? Like, you go to buy an R34, and people are like, well, is it the V-Spec Nerd 2? Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah,
and it's like,
and it's going to be like a $250,000 difference between what date it was fucking manufactured.
And don't get me wrong, I love my boy Brian. I love the guys over at Driver, but they fucking play into that so hard, which is, you want a base model GTR? Or do you want a GTR V-Spec 2 Nerd edition?
Whatever
this
I can
one
afford,
had the ball sack
please.
of this person on the passenger. It's like, dude, come on.
I just want my 40-year-old Japanese car.
And now like GTRs are almost like labeled as like, oh, you just got a GTR, because like they're pushing
That's
that
so
price
fucked.
up.
I hate
and it's not them. It's
No.
It's the market, but like they do. You know, there's this inadvertent
That's a
push
status thing.
of status to have a special edition, and Nissan plays into it because even the R35, they've got
a lot of
these
editions.
different types now, and the R35 has its own GTD trim option that comes in this exclusive green, but it's not the R34 green. It's
Hey, yo, where's the R35 GTT?
they call that a
Just like a
Nissan Z.
like a rear-wheel drive base model. Yeah, that's a great question.
Kind of
Nissan.
sick.
Where
Come
is
in
it?
at like $50K MSRP to compete with the Supra and the Z.
And then they
well,
just
wait,
killed
why
their
would they
Z,
compete
yeah.
with themselves? Yeah,
It is. It is.
That's where it is.
It is wild though. You hear people talk about GTTs, and like a lot of people that own GTRs just shit on GTTs. So
There's
bad.
no reason to though.
Like if you want a car that kind of looks like it, that you can chop up, fuck up, modify, then maybe you'd like a GTT. But
perfect. Yeah, that sounds sick.
TJ and Adam just pick up like R34 GTTs and they're
Yes.
like doing a bunch of crazy shit with them.
Oh,
yeah,
they were GTTs?
Adam or TJ bought this yellow one,
Yeah.
which is a really cool color. And like within the first 2 minutes of the video, tells the entire, as everybody in the comments is like, keep it yellow, yes, a yellow R34. He's
It's like it's already painted.
I'm painting this motherfucker midnight purple. It's like, oh my god.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it is a cool color, but fuck.
I have a soft spot for yellow Japanese cars, so I
Why?
like the yellow. I don't know. I think it's a nostalgic thing. I mean, I think it always goes back to like the Hondas and Acuras. Like a yellow Integra is like on near the top of one of my bucket list cars. I don't know why. But
I
like
do
it.
like
What was the reason you because you'll know this, Integra, there used to be one in Eau Claire, yellow, stunning.
Okay.
And in the back, underneath, it had like this like aluminum bar, and it had holes in it. Do you remember that mod? It was like super common to have. It was like a rear sway bar or something like that.
Oh, it was the control arms.
Was it but it was like these big holes that were always in the back from the dead center.
Are you talking in the bumper or the suspension pieces?
Suspension piece.
Well,
it was
they
like
did both.
underneath.
Yeah,
the
they did
bumper.
both.
It was underneath the bumper. You
I
could
think it was
see
just one of those things because you could see it.
Yeah.
So the manufacturers of these parts were like, we're gonna make it fucking dope. We're
Yeah.
gonna make them like shiny. We're gonna make them like lightweight.
I want
like,
you-
holes. And
yeah.
no, I know exactly. What
I want you to know when I was 16, I actively looked for that part and I didn't know what it was. I still don't. 13 years later, I literally typed in
Hole part.
aluminum lower hole part 3000 GT. I remember Googling that and never
Yeah.
finding the part ever.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because that sticks in my brain. That's my Roman Empire is the Honda suspension components of the early 2000s.
Damn, they killed it. Their marketing was insane.
because
It
I always
affected
it was
so
one of
many
those
people.
things I saw. It's like, man, that's cool.
Yeah.
I don't know why it's cool, but it's cool, and I want that. But I can't get it for my car.
The yellow Integra.
I'm gonna have to get one of those cars to do that.
The yellow Integra with the red badging was and still is
bar.
the best color you can. Then people tried to copy it, and then their cars ended up just looking like a McDonald's ambassador.
Yeah, I don't know.
The yellow is a finicky. It's a finicky bitch.
When they throw
You
red
can
in there,
make
you
it-
gotta be so careful.
You can make it look really bad, really quick.
But Honda does it well. Like the new 10th gen Type R, they did the yellow.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if it was an anniversary edition or what it was, but it was a limited edition, and it looked really good. And it had like the red seats and like normally I would absolutely hate that, but I agree. There's something where like
You have to get the right shades
it just
and
kind
the right
of
balance.
It kind of works.
You
and
really
it
have
doesn't
to
have
do,
a
like-
McDonald's vibe.
You really have to do like a low percentage of red to
Yeah.
make it work with yellow.
Just enough.
Just a touch. All right, we're going to take a small break, and when we come back, we're going to be talking about breaking news.
I'm excited.
We'll see you soon. Breaking news.
We're back.
2024 BMW 5 Series Touring, a.k.a. a wagon, teased because not everything must be an SUV. What are your guys' thoughts?
Like Coming to America is?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, about time.
I'll buy it. I will absolutely buy it. No, I won't. I'm broke, but I need to buy. I'll sell crack cocaine.
That is going to be another car that just gets freaking inflated like crazy for no reason. I can already see it.
Do you
I
think
can already
it
see
will?
it. Oh, 100%. Because it's the first wagon that we've gotten in freaking forever.
Are wagons really desirable to people, though? Like to a large audience? I know the people that fuck with them, but do the general public really?
I think either way, it's going to be just.
The wildest thing is
chaos.
this. Obviously, it's going to be coming in limited engine options for us. And a lot of people were hoping a V8 would come in a non-M5. Unfortunately, not. The M5, though, will have a 4.4-liter V8 in it, in its production model. So I just want you to imagine a 4.4-liter V8 M wagon on the streets competing with like the RS6.
That's so sick.
Yeah, and look how much.
Will it be a similar price point? Yeah. Like, is it going to be a six-figure car?
I can
Probably.
easily
Aren't the
imagine.
new M3, M4s?
Yeah, they're all six-figure.
Six-figure
That's what I
cars?
mean. Isn't it?
6 figures like
Cool.
six-
It's like I'm sitting here sick. I can't do anything with that information. Anyway.
All right, fun fact, not breaking news, but once was. The Soviets once built a 12-wheeled mega truck with a 42.4-liter engine and 220-ton carrying capacity. Look at this.
Is that how they got to the moon?
They drove there.
Yeah, what the hell is that?
Somebody goes, I need this because I might need to buy a piece of lumber from the hardware store someday and I need something to carry it in.
There was an era of
What the hell?
of like the Soviets and stuff like that. They were just doing wild shit. I don't know if you guys are aware of like the Caspian Sea Monster, the big chronoplane that's literally just rusting on a beach somewhere because they're like, yeah, we tried it. It was what? It was like a flying boat, but couldn't really fly. It used like ground effect, and it was freaking huge. It had like 12 jet engines on it.
What the?
They were doing wild shit back then.
The best part is where it's like somebody goes, just like many other Soviet contraptions, they learned that bigger is not always better.
There it is.
Yeah.
There it is.
Yep.
All right, going into the next one.
44.5 liter. That's crazy.
I'm going to ask you guys a question.
Okay.
Then I'm going to do a comment, and then you respond. Steve, turn it into a short if you want, okay? You ready? Biggest red flag in used car listings.
Ooh.
Number 1, have the parts, just don't have time to fix. 99% of the time, this means the problem goes far deeper than they originally expected, and they're cutting their losses.
Yeah.
It's like if you have them, just do it.
One would think it'd
One
be
would
that
think
easy.
you just install the part.
Yep.
Minimal details in photos. It's 2023. Even cheap phones have decent cameras.
There's literally
blows
no
my
excuse
mind.
for photos. If one photo in the ad, fuck you. I'm not doing it. I'm not buying that. I don't care how good of a deal it is.
Facebook Marketplace sucks. I can never sell anything on there. It has one photo, no description, doesn't answer to text.
Blurry.
No address. No way
10
to...
miles away.
It's like, this is fake.
Lady driven. Y'all can downvote
Okay.
me for sounding sexist, but being a mechanic, the most neglected cars are the ones owned by women. I can go on. But most repairs are ignored until it's really bad. This has 43 response comments. I don't know if I'm touching that one.
Don't touch that.
But what do you guys think?
I
As a red
got
flag.
it. No, I got the answer for that is I promise you both genders destroy the car equally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're not
If it says man driven, if it says later, it does not matter.
it's if you are not into cars and you just treat it as a piece of transportation, it's fucked. Like that.
Well, and then the people that are into cars are beating the fuck out of the thing and destroying it anyway. So
it does not matter.
Like,
I will tell you.
you can tell when a car is in good shape.
I'll tell you the one that is the biggest red flag, though. Or you still have more?
No, you go.
Needs a tune.
Yeah.
Just needs a tune.
Yeah, that's kind of the equivalent to the frickin' I have the part, but I need to. Well, go get a goddamn tune, brother.
480 wheel, runs great,
Yeah.
just needs a tune.
Just needs a
Well-
dude. And I see it so often.
Why does it need a tune?
Yeah, why?
Yeah.
Why haven't you
cylinder
tuned
3
it?
misfiring, just needs a tune.
It's always like the answer. And,
A hole in the block, leaking oil, just needs a tune.
yeah.
Transmission slipping through gears.
I just put in
needs a tune.
the 8th engine. The transmission's good. Engine's strong runner. It just needs a tune.
Yeah.
That goes into the biggest red flag I can say is freshly rebuilt.
Yeah.
When I see
Yes.
freshly rebuilt,
Engine has 2,000 miles. I'm like,
something is
or less.
weird about that. Either there's something wrong with it, or they're like, it's just freshly rebuilt, just looking to get rid of it for undisclosed reasons.
Yeah, I have trouble believing that someone would put all the time, all the money, they get the car back, it runs amazing, and they're just like, I liked it more when it was broken and
It takes a whole nother step when you get into like the rotary side of things, because then it's like approaching 75,000 miles.
Yeah.
First engine. It's like, or it's just like, it was the thing. Like fresh rebuild from this performance shop up for sale, 200 miles on it. It's like,
that's weird.
or it's like, oh, it's compression tested. Trust me. It's good.
Biggest red flag in California when buying a car, buyer does smog equals car will not pass smog.
Oh.
Because apparently, obviously.
Right.
I am
Wisconsin.
so glad we don't have to deal with that, because
There's some parts I think that do.
yeah,
in
some like
Wisconsin,
counties and stuff, but I think like
in our area they don't care.
that's why I live where no one lives.
Exactly. There's benefits to it. I swear.
Do you got another one?
Let me think real quick, because I feel like I had one, and
This is actually a great. While you're thinking about it, this is actually a great tip. If you're looking to buy a car, here's a solid tip to look to see if the car's been abused or not, and that would be nothing tells a story better than the tires. I'm the third owner of a 2022 manual BRZ. It has 10,000 miles, and it still has its OEM tires. However, they look absolutely destroyed on the inside, and you wouldn't be able to tell from the photos. The bad cars I've bought had shit, cheap, mismatched, or damaged end-of-life tires. The good cars have always come with nearly brand-new tires or evenly worn tires.
Another one, Sorry.
Go.
I got one. I've been sitting here waiting. Jones is just like, actually.
I'm sorry.
Okay, so huge red flag when buying a car off marketplace and seeing the ad. The price is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and it starts with just putting a feeler out there, or shoot me an offer on what you think is fair. You're never gonna get a good deal on that car. They want the fucking moon for it, and it's just it's never a fucking good way to start out a car sale. Make me an offer. No, put what you want for the goddamn car. We're never gonna fucking. You want $500? You fucking lowball and piece of shit. You said put an offer, bitch. It's like I don't know where to start. Sorry, I hate when people do that.
Another one for me specifically up in here in the Wisconsin, northern states, I get actual winter. Just has surface rust. Surface rust in this spot. It's like if it's on the surface, it's fucked.
Here's a trick for you. If there's surface rust, there's rust.
Under rust.
When you see the rust, it's already gone.
Yeah.
You're the last person of the deal to notice there's rust.
Yeah.
The car knows there's rust. The paint knows there's rust. And then you know there's rust. You're the last one in the program.
Yeah.
I got another one.
All right.
This is a good question, actually.
Okay.
Are you passionate about exotic cars, or does your passion lie with what you can relate to? The age-old debate of people that love exotic cars versus people loving and running towards a 30-year-old Honda.
Wait, say that again. Like, break it down one more time. I was zoning.
So what the guy straight stacking is trying to say is, I've noticed at times people walk past the line of McLarens at Cars and Coffee and go straight for the old school Skyline that showed up, or the rare special edition $30,000 car versus the $300,000 car. So the question is asked, are you enamored by exotics just as much as you are entry-level cars, or do you skip the exotics because they're just not realistic for you?
Yeah, no, 100%. I've never really in my life been into exotics. I've never cared that. Sure, I think they're neat. I'm not like downplaying people that own them. Congratulations, you made an insane purchase. That you have a fucking absurd car that's just nuts. Yeah. But yeah, maybe it's the relatability of like, I'm not going to be purchasing that anytime soon, so I don't really care to check it out in depth. But I still have a respect for them, and like I still check certain ones out. There's ones that tickle my fancy. But yeah, every single time I'm going to go look at a car that more relates to me and my taste. I don't like get that excited. Like fucking 458 Italia goes by, I'm like, oh, 458.
Oh, Ferrari.
Yeah. And then I see a stupid, clean, bone stock Honda Civic that has no rust. I'm like, how the fuck, dude? Where did that come from? How did he get it up here? Where's that thing been? Have you seen that Civic in town? Like, that's just the way it is.
Yeah.
For me, I think it always comes down to the story of the owner. I've always found so much interest in the person versus just the car. So it's like, I don't really care if it is a Ferrari or if it is like a Honda Civic. If I can learn about why this person has this car, it makes it so much better. Because
I agree.
It does take, like, I think when you look at a car for solely the status symbol versus people who actually enjoy cars, there is a difference there. But there's people that I know that have that do have a Ferrari or that do have a, a rarer exotic, but the story of the car is just as cool as somebody who owns like a BRZ or an FR.
Yeah, I think that's a super good point you bring up. And I specifically generally don't go out of my way to talk to people unless like I'm making content or interviewing them about a car. Like I don't go up to the guy with the Aventador and I'm like, yo, why'd you buy this? To get this story. Yeah. But I think making that conversation, talking casually with people, you will have so much more respect because you get to hear the come up, the process, and there usually is a lot of thought because that's a ton of money that go into these persons. Obviously, you have people that just have stupid money and they're just like, I don't know, it's one of my 15 cars that I have. It's neat. It's fast, But then there's also the people that are like, yo, I spent my whole life trying to get this car and it means the world to me, and that does make it a lot more interesting.
Giles, what do you think?
No, I'm with both of you guys on that. I would say that I kind of fit in with Dakota. What he's saying is, for me personally, it's like a relatability thing because it's like I don't see myself buying that car just because I can't. Like that's just unattainable. It's not relatable. But it doesn't mean that you have to, it doesn't mean that you have to relate to it to appreciate it.
Right.
Because there are people out there that's like, no, I just really fuck with supercars. Like I'll never probably ever own one or like afford one, but it's like I know that I like this manufacturer made this special edition, made this many of them in this colorway. They added this to it. It's really rare. I appreciate it for that. It's like I just don't know that. So, but if I did, I would definitely appreciate it. Probably be like, wow, okay. But because I don't know
if
that,
I had the money, I don't know if I'd be going out and buying Lamborghinis and McLarens and stuff. Anyways, I don't think that's what I would do.
I think the weird and kind of coming from a weird perspective where I'm staring at an S2000 in front of me and there's a 430 behind me. Like for me personally, that car didn't come because of a status thing. I bought that car for the same price than I bought the Nissan Z back in 2020.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, so there's a story here. There's not a status thing there. It's definitely more of that. So I try to be super honest about that, but to some people they do buy cars for status and status alone, and that's
honestly too a huge factor to that will change it completely is modified supercars. I will go check that out. I will go take a look at that. Like even if it's simple, it doesn't need to be like a freaking huge twin turbo setup hanging out the back of a Huracan or whatever. It's like just like simple mods. I like seeing that because a lot of people just get them and leave them bone stock.
Yeah, they're like,
I think
I
that's
don't
why
drive it. I don't modify it. I drive it 2 times a year. Otherwise, it sits in my attached garage.
Like if I didn't know Alex and I seen this car, I feel like I would go up and check it out because it's unique to see an F430.
Yeah, it's like this thing's on. This has to be on air. It's on aftermarket wheels. There's a big wing on it.
Carbon fiber bits and stuff like that. So I would end up checking it out. So I would say that'd be the changing factor of it.
I would love to, like, I think for us personally before we sign off for the day is like, I will continue to say finding cars in either peculiar situations or that aren't well known will always be my favorite kind of build to work on. It's why I really enjoy the 430. It's why I really love the Gloria. It's why maybe I have a little bit of a tougher time falling in love with the S2000 or the Z because it feels a little bit more normalized, whereas jumping into the Gloria is a little bit of like a funky different. That's just how I feel.
I love the Gloria.
I love the Gloria, and to me, I have just as much as a smile on my face as when I'm in that car versus this car. That car's just fun as fuck.
I agree with you 100%, but I would also say that the S2000 is currently in a peculiar position.
That's true. If you guys are wondering, we're staring right at it right now. It definitely needs love. I need to do a better job.
God, though, dude, when this car's done, mark my words, everyone's going to fuck with this thing.
Slap.
I don't know how you couldn't, but right now.
This car took me 5 years to build, mostly because 4.5 of it, I didn't touch it.
Yeah, this thing needs a lot of help. But, man, there's so much potential there. Yeah. So much potential.
Totally agree.
I see it.
All right. We hope you guys enjoyed this podcast episode. Please, again, let us know if you're still there, what you'd like to see more or less of in the comments below. Hopefully you're subscribed. And if you're looking to buy parts for your car, mod your car over at MartiniWorks.
I got one thing, too. If you listen this far, first of all, you are a fucking real one, and I appreciate you. But I want you to screenshot whatever platform you're listening, if it's Spotify, YouTube, etc., and then screenshot, upload it to Instagram, and tag me, Alex and Giles, and MartiniWorks. And I just want to see. I'm going to share it on my story if you do it. I promise I'll share it.
I'll do it too.
There you go. You're going to get some shares.
I
want to see. Giles won't do it.
No, I will.
He's a bit harder to get.
He's a little older.
He's a little exclusive.
Yeah, he's a little older. So
we're teaching him how to use Instagram. So.
Yeah.
We're getting there.
I don't understand the TikTok app.
Well, we appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you on the next one. Adios.
Bye. it.